Welcome to another review, guys. We're here today with the Genesis G70 3.3 litre turbo, and let me tell you, just like I'm pretty underdressed for the occasion, the Genesis is pretty unassuming for what it can offer at the price point that it delivers that value. Now, in a world where a lot of Euro cars have reigned supreme for many, many years as the penultimate luxury items that you could buy, a lot of people don't actually realize that those cars are quite often made in places that are super exotic, like Mexico, sometimes in Eastern European countries that are not Germany, where you think you're buying German European luxury, but you might just be buying a car that's made in Turkey, which there's nothing wrong with that, but they're just not made in the places that you think you're paying for them to be made in. And that's where Genesis comes in. Yes, they're Korean, and yes, Genesis is the luxury arm of Hyundai Group. And a lot of people are going to say, well, they're not really a luxury car, it's just a fancy Hyundai or Hyundai or whatever other pronunciation globally someone is going to tell me I'm pronouncing wrong. But the reality is with Genesis is they're a newer, aged level of sophistication and luxury with a price tag that's actually quite attainable compared to a lot of the competitors that it competes against, but it also delivers an experience that's incredibly comfortable. So this review is going to be focused more around how you would experience this car on a daily drive. Perhaps you're using it as a lease vehicle, as a rep car, or as a company car, and this is your daily. So you're going to live in it, you're going to want to make it comfortable and make it your own, but you're also not going to want to option it up with 7,000 boxes that you have to tick and decide before ordering the car in order to get the combination that you need or the things that you need in the car daily to make it comfortable. So we'll run through where Genesis excels at that and follows a very successful recipe on the heels of other newcomers in the luxury game as well. Now, one of the things that I absolutely love about Genesis from the outside is the styling. So a lot of its competitors have gone for brash, square kind of shapes. Genesis is still going for that refined, gorgeous curves, the unassuming, subtle nature of that sophistication, and the twin headlight and tail light design that has become synonymous to the brand. From the front, you definitely know that you are looking at a Genesis and that you're looking at something that's distinctly premium and distinctly unique within the overall group of this company. The badge, while winged and while reminiscent of other brands that have some premium prestige behind them with wings as well, it's pretty subtle. Like, they're not trying to make it stand out in your face. They've not placed a big, massive badge on the grille there. They've just placed a subtle badge on there. They let the styling speak for itself. They let the styling be what you look at, you turn around and you spot on the road and you have a look. With an expanding dealer network across Australia, Genesis is also poised to grow and continue their growth in that luxury segment. So let's have a look at what you get underneath the bonnet. So give me 2 secs while I open the bonnet. So opening up this car is giving you a little bit of insight into what you're getting into. Some extra reinforcement around the engine. It's a 3.3 litre turbo V6 petrol engine. It has 274 kilowatts worth of power. It has 510 Newton meters of torque and a 0 to 100 performance of 4.7 seconds. But it also has a couple of different drive modes that give you a range of comfortable daily driving versions, as well as a more sporty and aggressive, either track orientated, track day type mode, or just a general sportier type of mode as well. So you have 4 different drive modes, which is fantastic. But enough about the engine, let's have a look at what you get on the inside. Now, as you approach the car and you unlock the car, you will have this gorgeous Genesis logo swing out from underneath as part of your puddle lamp underneath the winged mirrors. Further to that, you have a 360-degree camera system, as you would expect with a premium car like the G70. 1 on the front, 2 on the wing mirrors, and 1 on the back, giving you a very, very good 3D, 360-degree reverse camera and overall camera image. Getting in and out of the car is pretty straightforward. So you either have your normal lock and unlock buttons on the on the key, or you put your hands in here and that unlocks it for you. You have some courtesy lighting on there. You don't have courtesy lighting on the rear door. which is a little bit surprising, but then again, you're probably only getting in the front yourself on a regular basis. So let's move through to the inside. Moving through to the inside, you're going to have what is surprisingly non-soft touch materials at the top. So it is a little bit of a harder wearing plastic. It's not quite plastic, it's not quite rubber, it's something in between. And that was a little bit surprising because a lot of the Genesis models that I've been in so far have been incredibly premium on the door cards and door trims versus this particular car. So that's the one area that is a little bit disappointing. It does get a little bit softer towards the front, but at the back here, it's not the softest or nicest of material. It is a bit foamy and spongy, but I'll let you decide if you go for a drive-in one. You have this nice inlay here. Again, they've departed from the traditional aluminium type inlay that you have in other Genesis models, giving this a little bit of a downgraded premium feel. And the quilting on the side here, plus the soft touch materials just here, do add a nice touch to make it feel a little bit nicer and to forgive some of the other reductions in quality materials outside of that. Down the bottom here, it is a harsh plastic, it is the harder wearing area, and it's likely the bit that you're going to see the least. That being said though, they haven't gone for the same quality or grade of harsh plastic as other vehicles in their range. They've gone for one that is a little bit nicer than the average passenger car on plastics down the bottom. Outside of that, power windows, power mirrors, and your central locking all through here, including the external retract. And you also have 2 memory programmable seats options for your driver's seat, meaning if you or another person share the car, you can program and set a seat position that you will absolutely like for yourself. Let's have a look at the rest. Moving on to the inside, you have multiple adjustments for your electronic seats, and you also have this really handy feature that does extend the base of the seat at the front, meaning if you need a little bit more support because you have dancer's legs and you're a little bit taller, you can get that nice little bit of additional comfort so that underneath your knee is not just kind of left floating or sitting while you're driving, making it that little bit more comfortable for you. Steering wheel is height and reach adjustable and is all electronic as you would expect at this price point and in this segment, and is super easy at the touch of one finger and one little dial or switch that moves it along. You have a heads-up display directly in front of you and a full digital display in the center here that is even a 3D layered image. So some of the key information that you have comes across in a 3D display, which makes it look kind of cool and very premium as well. They've also added a driver awareness indicator and notch just in there that would just make sure that you're paying attention to the road instead of looking at your phone while you're driving and cruising in style. On the right hand side, you have your indicators. Left hand side, you have your wipers. They are both auto on and off, which makes it super easy and exactly what you would expect at a car that sits just underneath 100,000. Outside of that, the steering wheel is leather wrapped and very comfortable with this perforation on the inside, giving it that sporty feel to the overall steering wheel. And the steering wheel is remarkably simple and straightforward to understand. On the right hand side, you'll have your audio adjustments and any other information adjustments for tracks and things like that, plus a favorites programmable button. On the left hand side, you'll have your multi-information display, information button, so things like your current fuel consumption or a few other adjustments. Plus you'll have things like your lane departure alert, your smart cruise control, and your lane keep assist functions all through that side. Flappy paddles are directly behind the steering wheel, so if you want to manually change up some gears, 100% able to do that directly behind the steering wheel. And they also follow the steering wheel as well, they're not stationary, so if you're moving around with that, you can move and go up and down in speeds as you do that. Mirror is just a frameless mirror, and you have a moonroof or sunroof as well just above here. Now let's turn the car on and show you what you get in the middle, so come on around. Now starting the car is every bit exciting as you would expect. You get a little display that goes on over here, plus your main central display here. Now, a real interesting departure in a lot of the Genesis styling and models of other higher end levels is this smaller screen. So you don't have that long wide wraparound. You have quite a traditional interior, which is actually quite nice given that some of its competitors have that big long wraparound, which in this type of car I think would not be quite as suited to the rest of the car. Super responsive touchscreen and very easy to use. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto is available. We have your radio controls all through here, and all with actual buttons and dials, which is a little bit unusual given that a lot of brands have gone for a full touch experience, but given the premium segment that this is trying to appeal to, it's actually quite nice. Down here you have your touch controls for everything that you need, so air conditioning controls to go up or down, heated and ventilated seats here as well, so in summer months you can make them super cool, in warm winter months you can make them super warm. A heated steering wheel, which would be incredibly nice in some of our southern states as well. Plus down here you have wireless charging pad, a USB port, 12-volt outlet, and some cup holders that are actually pretty functional. So they're sized just right for a lot of Australian cups. So if you have a larger cup, if you have a Red Bull can, they're going to hold nice and snugly in there, and they have little teeth to hold onto them so that they're not moving around as well. Electronic park brake just here, and a switchable dial that does your drive modes. The cool thing with the drive modes as well is you can go anywhere from eco through to comfort for daily driving. Then you can kind of get a little bit sporty with a standard sports mode that just tightens up the bolstering on the seat electronically with the inflators, and it also gives you a little bit of a different response to the steering and the throttle. And then if you want to take this on the track, or you just want to get a little bit more aggressive, you can go the whole way through to Sport Plus, which will deactivate your traction control and will also allow you to have a little bit more aggressive acceleration and throttle control as well. You can also set a custom mode, which allows you to tune a whole bunch of different things yourself, all through that center display as well, giving you a great level of customization for a daily sports sedan. Outside of that, rear parking sensors and front parking sensors, they're all controlled through here. And you have a camera button down here that will push up your camera display. Now earlier, I'm pretty sure I may have said that it does a 3D 360-degree camera. What I meant was a 360-degree camera with a bird's eye image, as well as your reverse camera as well. So it just handles some of your tighter parking spots, but also things like going through Macca's drive-through. I've found it incredibly handy on some of the tighter Macca's drive-throughs to make sure that I don't curb a rim. The steering wheel, as you move that, it will adjust the guidance lines for the front and the rear wheels as well, making it even easier to park around tight car parks or shopping centers or even your own garage. And the gear selector, now this is a little bit different, but not too hard to get used to. So with your foot on the brake, you can put it into reverse by pushing the side button and pushing it up, or pull it down to get it into drive, or tap it up to get it into neutral. To put it into park, you'll press the P button on the side here. But what you'll notice is, regardless of which of those modes you're in, it never leaves that central position. It will always go back to that. So it's a little bit different to a standard gear selector where you'll move it and the actual selector itself tilts backwards or forwards. It just goes straight back to that upright position just there. So just something to be mindful of if you're expecting it to move around. Push button start here, and what's really cool with this push button start is before you've turned the car on, if you press it, before you press it, sorry, I should say, it will actually give you a little bit of a heartbeat kind of movement, similar to what some of the old Jags used to do back from about 10-15 years ago. So that's a cool little feature just there. In here you have a center console area which has plenty of storage and a USB-C outlet as well for you to charge with. And up here is where you're going to be able to do your sunroof and opening that up. So it is quite a big sunroof, gives you plenty of access, but it's not a full panoramic roof either. So just be mindful, if you are expecting a panoramic roof, this isn't the car for that, but it definitely gives you quite a nice big open moonroof, sunroof, whatever you want to call it. And when it's hot, that blind keeps it absolutely cold. The seats, as you can tell, they are gorgeous and incredibly comfortable, quilted and heated and ventilated, which makes them an absolute breeze during summer and an absolute welcome in winter on colder mornings. Now, that's basically it from the front. A couple of other styling finishes that I forgot to mention. So you have a nice leather around the whole dash. The top of it is a stitched finish to the top of the dash material. and you have a glove box that is pretty generous in size, but also a soft opening glove box. Let's have a look at what you get in the back. Now, in the back of the G70, you have enough room to be comfortable. The front seat is currently at its furthest back and at the furthest down, which is the comfort exit mode. As you can see, this seat is also in that same position. However, you can move that forwards and backwards using this button on the side in case you do want to scoot across. But although this is a 5-seater, it's definitely only a 4-seater in terms of comfort, because with one person here and one person there, you have this massive transmission tunnel here that really would have your feet right up against your ears if you were sitting 3 people in the back. The other thing is, with the seat the whole way down, my foot is very much wedged underneath rather than just sitting. So it's not quite as comfortable at the moment if you were a little bit taller in the front and you had to have your seat the whole way down. You have 2 USB-C ports down here, which makes it very convenient if you need to charge a device in the back. And you have your aircon vents down here just to make sure that you get the complaints on the low. Over here, a little bit of netting and storage. It is a little bit surprising, to be honest, in a premium car to have this type of material, but also quite a scratchy rear material on the back of the seat. That being said, some of its competitors in the price point are also offering exactly the same. So it's, at some point, I guess some things need to be cut in terms of features before you start putting the price up a little bit further. That would be my thought around the reasoning. Now, as you can see, I'm struggling to actually move around to show you how I'm going to get into position. So if you're in the back, you can also pull down the armrest in the middle seat to give you 2 cup holders and a nice armrest. But the big party trick is the ISOFIX points. So they're located directly down the bottom of the 2 outer seats, but then you have the 3 top tether points directly across that rear parcel shelf. That's what you're going to be looking at if you're using the back of this car as a car on a daily basis, maybe as a family car. But I have a big feeling that you're probably going to be using this as a 1-person driver for most of the time that you have this car, if you're buying a G70. You have some map lights at the top here, if anyone in the back wants to read, but it's definitely more aimed at the driver, at driver comfort. Think an executive doing a run to and from the office, or think someone that maybe is the main person driving this car, the kids are no longer at home, and husband or wife is now on their own driving this car without the need to be in the back with kids or anything like that. So for occasional use, it's definitely comfortable. For daily use, you wouldn't want to have more than 2 people needing to sit in the back, and you would definitely want to check what kind of leg and foot room they're going to need, but also how much baby seat capsule space they're going to need in case they are putting baby seat capsules in the back. Outside of that, roof lining is absolutely nice and comfortable. You have a very slim window at the back, which again delivers a little bit of comfort. But let's have a look at what you get in the boot and see if it's practical as a parent, or if you're limited to gifts for the other half. Opening the G70, well, that's actually pretty easy. You just push that button, that opens the boot, and it gives you a surprisingly large boot, and quite wide, despite it being a little bit shallow in its opening for this category of car. That means that the boot itself actually has quite a surprisingly large amount of space. And underneath here, you even have a spare wheel, which a lot of cars in this segment don't offer a spare wheel. They offer tire inflation kits or tire repair kits. So again, a really big win for Genesis there, particularly if you're maybe doing some country runs, or if you are using this car as a rep and you aren't every day in here needing this to be a comfortable on the road office, but still having that reassurance of having a spare wheel in the back in case you get stuck in a sticky situation. Outside of that, that was fully electric up and is fully electric down. You have your rear parking sensors at the back and a very stylish rear end. That is pretty straightforward at telling you that it's Genesis and that it's a G70 with the iconic Genesis twin tail lights that wrap around. Now, my experience driving this car around town is that it is a fun car to drive, but in comfort mode is kind of where you want to be on a daily basis. You don't want to have it in sports mode. It kind of almost twitches a little bit too much because it has quite a lot of power, particularly if you're pulling out into traffic. You do need to be a bit more mindful of the power delivery that it has. So if you're used to a little bit more power than maybe a traditional V6, and you love having that ability to just absolutely put your foot down and get up and go on the highway or on a safe manner in urban roads, then this car could be for you. But if you're after something that is going to be incredibly comfortable and stylish, this is also an absolute winner for that segment as well. So let me know what you think in the comments. Do you like the G70? Would you buy one? Would you consider going for a test drive in one? Have you driven one? What did you think? And in the comments, if you wouldn't buy a Genesis G70, let me know why, and let me know what other cars you would consider. Until next time, guys, we'll leave you there and stay tuned for our next review.